case of murder has been opened against a man believed to have been the boyfriend of Karabo Mokoena. The 27-year-old suspect will appear in the Johannesburg Magistrates Court today. 22-year-old Karabo Mokoena went missing on the 28th of April. 2 weeks later, her burnt remains were found in Sandton. Karabo's ID and passport documents were found dumped in Sandton as well. Her friends had been posting Karabo's pictures on social media, asking for people to help them find her. After days of searching for her, the family confirmed on social media that Karabo had been found dead and her body burnt. Mokoena's uncle, Tsepo, says the family is devastated and now they want the harshest punishment for the culprit.
Confirmed that on the 29th there was a body there, but they were still doing their own investigation because the body was burned beyond recognition. The room, and we found that the carpet was like wet, meaning that you could see that somebody was trying to clean, but there was some little bit of stains of blood there and there. And then obviously he was then called in and he came and then into Sandton police station, and there he was interrogated for quite a long time. I think we lay by around 2-3 o'clock in the morning. That was the only time he confessed to say that he actually murdered Karabo. They both came in, but she never went out. So meaning that it was a guy who was going like in and out, and then something suspicious happened that the gentleman took a bin, you know these bins, these big bins with the wheels. So he took it into his room, and then later he came out with the bin, but I think the footage could not see how far he went. But then when he was asked, he said no, it was laundry.
Yesterday when we arrived at the family home, the family had just been to the mortuary where they were not allowed to see the body of Karabo Mokoena. They were just showed pictures of what was left behind. Remember, she was burnt beyond recognition, but her father, who was very distraught, said that just by looking at the pictures of her fingers, he could tell that it was her. He just knew in his gut that it was her. Obviously, at the time we arrived, the family was extremely distraught. That's why you hear family members crying in the background while we're speaking to the uncle, Tsepo Mokoena. And at that time, the family could not speak to us directly as to how they're feeling. The family spokesperson kind of handled the situation and let us know what happened that day.
What is worrisome is the fact that this incident is somewhat reminiscent of several others that have occurred over the years. In December 2015, Zesta September was strangled to death by her boyfriend. There were charred remains found near Lenasia military base on New Year's Eve. Then in October 2014, Merrily Makumbe was butchered to death by her ex-boyfriend. Her body was rolled up in a carpet and stuffed in the boot of her vehicle.
We have come in contact with quite a lot of very influential men, and we have requested that it's high time we taught a boy child what it means to respect a woman, because currently as we stand, we are living in societies that are broken. And in our societies being broken in the interim, you find that most of the boys and girls are growing up with single parents, with which, even if they grow with both parents, most of these boys who end up being abusive are growing up watching the abuse happening at home.
Most violent crimes are committed by people who are closely related to the victim, and it speaks a lot to the fact of how limited we seem to be in terms of dealing with problems outside of using violent force, and the fact that we're not communicating in ways that allow us to be more constructive in the way that we deal with these sorts of issues. What seems to be causing it is obviously a manifest of a lot of different causes, but one of the principal ones is, of course, the way we're psychologically constructing masculinity in the country at this point. We find that our masculine identities are very limited in the sense that men are not traditionally allowed to experience compromise, severe distress, sadness, anxiety. All of those things start to get channeled into the one socially acceptable emotion that men are encouraged to display, which is around anger and aggression. And so by virtue of that fact, all these sorts of distresses get channeled into aggression, which of course is then socially reinforced. And any man who doesn't subscribe to that sort of hegemony gets kind of castigated or told that they're not good enough. And by virtue of that fact, we're reinforcing a sense that it's appropriate for men to engage in violent behavior and really not allowing them to develop alternative strategies of dealing with problems or dealing with other people.